Hi, my name is Talia. Welcome to Talia Nerds Out. This is actually the second video that I'm recording today from a different location. I talked briefly, or mentioned briefly, on the last video that I might want to just go over book journaling a little bit. I don't usually touch on that too much in my videos, but just kind of wanted to cover some of what I do for the book journaling. At this point, I'm still finishing up the whole series of Agatha Christie books that I did last year for the Christie's Missing Readathon, and I'm actually on the last book. This particular series, I decided to lean heavily on the fact that most of Agatha Christie's titles have multiple cover options, so I'm taking advantage of that for creating these journal spreads. So a good example of that is actually, let's go with Ordeal by Innocence. Now what I'll do is I don't know why that's blowing out so much. Okay. What I'll do is I'll take parts of covers, like this is part of a cover here. This is the main part of another cover. I'll just take what I consider the most interesting parts of the cover and I'll add them in there. And one of them will end up being the pocket for the library card, which I end up stamping every time I read it. I've not yet had a reread because I only started the journal fairly recently. But once I start having rereads, I'll just be able to stamp and continue, which will make future Christie's Missing Readathons a lot easier once I start rereading. This one was one where I used quite a few of covers. This is one of my favorite books for Agatha Christie, Cards on the Table, and it had a lot of covers available, and I was able to use the card theme to use as many covers as I'd like, including ones with different languages. I think this one, it has a Chinese cover. It got covered mostly, but this one's Spanish. Hold on. This one here is Spanish. You can barely see, but I tried to have some of it show. And then this one's just odd. This particular one, I had a weasel. This one's really odd up here. This guy apparently is known for his oddball covers for Agatha Christie. But once you do a lot of these covers, you'll notice certain similarities between the different publishers. Like, for example, when I did Bertram's Hotel, they had this cover with the key, and you could see the person through kind of a keyhole slash, not key fob, but key ring. You could see the person through that. Whereas here, I think this might be the same publisher, because they went with a very similar idea, but you're looking through a keyhole here for the letter being dropped off. So I think that might be a similar publisher. I try to go with covers for the most part that give the best idea of the plot. Some of the ones you have are very odd. This is one I think I owned in the past, this particular cover. What I also wanted to make sure I did is grab a different title name. So, like, for example, 450 from Paddington, I think, is the most well-known title for that particular book. But it's also, from other publishers, it's known as What Mrs. McGillicuddy Saw. And I actually, had that cover pop up. For some reason, none of the other alternate titles showed up as cover suggestions when I looked them up, but this one, its alternate title came up, so I made sure to use it in there. And there were a lot of really cool covers I was able to use part of for this particular title. This makes me think, besides making me think of the one with the key ring, it also makes me think of another one that I did for Murder on the Orient Express. A little bit like that. Honestly, if I was to compare it to anything, it would be more like the key ring and the keyhole one. But yeah, I definitely wanted to use that. I thought that was a clever way of them doing it. And I've been wanting to use this shocked stamp for a while. I think the cover that I've had in the past has been this one, when I had the physical form. Even though there's so many more cool covers for this title. And according to, so if I look up 450 from Paddington, let's see what it says about the alternate title. This is Agatha Christie Checkerbead Checklist, a reader's checklist and reference guide. They don't make these anymore. I got this back in the early 2000s, I want to say. I've had this forever. Okay, so they actually have it under, oh no, okay, hang on. 450 to Paddington. Okay, 450 from Paddington. So the other title is, well, it doesn't tell me when it is, what Mrs. McGillicuddy saw, but it is mentioned as the alternate one. So I would expect that that's probably the British title, or not the British title, the American title, whereas maybe the 450 from Paddington might be the original title that she intended. That's my guess anyway. They actually didn't say it, which I was hoping that they would. 1957 is when it was put out. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one because of all the fun covers. Now, what I normally do, I'm on the last one that I read for this year, and I just sort of want to give an idea of what I do when I get started. You can see that I keep in one of those clear plastic sleeves all of the things that I might use, all the covers I might use. This one actually did have some alternate cover come up. Death in the Clouds is the one that I most frequently see for this one. But it's also called Death in the Air, and I want to make sure that I use one of the covers that have that title. Let's see. Yeah, this one. Even though the cover's kind of odd I've never seen this cover. It's got a snake on it for some reason, which isn't what I would have associated with this particular book. But because I don't have any of the others with the title Death in the Air, I will at least be using the smaller cover, if not the other one. So what I do is I cut a bunch of different sizes that I might use. Example is here where I've cut 3 different sizes of the same cover. And then I just cut it in different ways until I organize it on the page to see how I like it best. So for example, I know I'm not going to use this one as a Sunday Hold Library card, but I could see using it cut up like this, where you can see the little book. You see the little book there. Then you had the B on the cup, and the title, and the spoon. Actually, there are 2 spoons. Okay, I think I see the other spoon kind of underneath of it. So, with that in mind, I also have cut out by itself the blowpipe, but if I want to, I can use it for the library card. I haven't quite made up my mind how I'm going to use this particular cover. Just like, I'm not sure, I think I'll actually use a smaller version, maybe even smaller than this, of her using the compact to look at herself. I want to say I've had this particular cover before. I know I've at least seen this one if I haven't had this one. I will be using this probably just as it looks. But I'm not sure if I'll use a smaller version or one of these 2. This one, I would have liked it the B was farther down. If it had been closer to the matchbox, I would have cut it a little closer. But as it is, I will probably be using it as it is as a cover because I want that B up at the top in connection with the matchbox. Oh, did I cut out the one? Let's see. This one was kind of cool for Death in the Clouds as well. I've not seen this particular one before. with the dead bee. I will probably cut the bee separate of the title. And I have a couple different sizes to consider for that. I haven't yet decided how I'm going to use this one. I really like that cover, and I do have it cut out as a potential for the library card, but I also have this one, which is not actually in English. I'm not quite sure what the language is. I have two different versions. One's a little thinner here, and then I have this one, which is a little bit lower down. But you can see down at the bottom, it's some other different language, which I'm not quite sure what that is. You can see there too. So I'm not sure yet which one I'll use for the library card. I might use one of these smaller ones for the, for the compact. We'll see. But yeah, what I do is I cut out a bunch of different covers. I organize them on the page, and then I just keep reorganizing until I find one I like. Like, I really do want to somehow use, and we'll see if I'm able to do so. I don't always get to use the ones I cut out, simply because I don't want it to look too crowded. Like, I like that one, too. Yeah, I already showed, well, this is another one similar to that last one I showed that I've cut up for the library card. This one over here, it's very similar. What else is there? Yeah, so I just end up cutting them up. When I can, I try to sometimes do some fussy cutting so I can get more in there, like I'm doing for the compact and this cup, and a little bit for the blowpipe. I'm thinking I won't use the blowpipe as a library card, because if I can, I could potentially have this mug up close to where the blowpipe is, and that could work very nicely. Especially, I know I have a bee on that cup, but if I can find a smaller version of this dead bee here, that might be nice in that general area too. And then maybe the compact somewhere up in the corner in one of the pages. So I'm just still putting together how I want this. I could possibly have the matchstick, box by itself if I have it near the dead bee here. That could work. Or if I have it near the cup. So these are the thought processes I go through when I'm putting together one of these pages. It starts out very messy with me doing a lot of cutting and playing with things around the page. And then by the time I'm done, I get a cohesive page, sometimes with more covers, sometimes with fewer. I generally take a picture after I have it organized on the page. And then I fool around after that, but with that picture as a basis. Not much else to say. Usually I like to have room for a review. If it's a book I've read a lot and a long-time favorite, like Cards on the Table was, I just lean heavily on just having fun with the covers. But like The Moving Finger, well, any of the Miss Marples, I'm going to write more because I'm not as familiar with Miss Marple, so I haven't read quite as many for books quite as many times, whereas I'm a longtime Poirot fan, and those I've read more frequently and don't need to write as much. I have noticed as I've gone on, there's just been, at least with the Agatha Christie's, more use to the covers. Once I go back to my non-Christie books, I see moving away from the covers and getting back to maybe some of the drawing and stuff that I was doing before. Like with my one with the crochet snakes, which was very heavy on drawing last year. So, but yeah, I just wanted to give a general idea of how I put it together. If I was to put it on the page right now, I would probably have somewhere down here. I usually also try to use as much as I can. If I can, sorry, my lighting is really annoying. Okay, this book came with quotes on the bottom, so I try to cover it with either something I can cut up or with washi tape. And lately I've been covering it up with a library catalog card or one of the other covers. So just the way it looks right now, I would probably go with either one of these three as library card holder. So if I went with, what should I like this? This one's kind of tall. So let's say I go with this one. Once I do that, let's stick the library card in there. Okay. And then from there, probably I would then cut up this and maybe put in this little one here. Let's fold that up. Okay, and so I have Death in the Air in there. If I wanted to get that one of the more common covers in, I could slide in this little one here. That may or may not actually be added. But I think it'll be the other page where I get most of my exciting stuff. The page that has my catalog card on it. Because I could do a bunch of different things with that. I can even, if I want to, have the dead bee at the bottom, like cut out this dead bee and kind of stick it right here. That might be kind of fun. So if I went ahead and cut along my bee here, then I might go tighter in later on, or even with a smaller bee later on. I don't want to go too close because the bee's wing could come off, and that would be very sad. And I might even leave on there where it says a Hercule Poirot mystery. There we go. So what I could do, and I'm using my I guess X-Acto knife, is that what it's called? Okay, anyway, I can stick my dead bee if I want to right over here, or even over on this side. That might be kind of cool. Don't lose that. And then I could have this somewhere else. So yeah, I'm still figuring it out. That's kind of the thought process I go through. I could potentially cut out this smaller version of the bee to put down there. And that's something that I will work through the process. But that's excuse me, how I put together a page. I cut out a bunch of things with the idea of, will this work? Will that work? I organize it on the page. And then sometimes the cutting that I did won't be used at all, and it just gets stuck back in here. Now, some of these things will not be useful for later, but as long as it doesn't have the title in it, I could potentially use something. Like, I might have something later on where I need a dead bee. Or, like, for example, I might be able to use, separate of the title, this lady looking through her compact. So, some of these could be reusable in other circumstances. Not all of them, but some of them could be. And for certain titles, there's more covers that can be used in different places than others. But yeah, that's just a general idea of the process that I go through when I'm building a spread for a book. Agatha Christie tends to be very heavy on the different covers simply because I end up putting a lot more of the different covers into those spreads because there's been so many over the years. But yeah, that's just a quick rundown how I do my book journaling. If you book journal, do you have any specific method that you go through? Are you more heavy on having different artwork? Are you less heavy on it? Do you have more writing? I started out very bare bones at first. At the very beginning, I think I just would draw a cover and then mostly write a review when I first started. So my style has changed. Yeah, this is last year around this time when I was doing a book on the Vikings, Last Viking. So this was in June of last year when I started. So my style has changed very much since then. But yeah, I'm going to go back to doing some of this cutting here. And yeah, thank you very much for joining me for Talia Nerds Out. I have this video and another one to look through, see how much editing I need to do. And then hopefully I will have these up soonish. You have a great day. God bless. Bye-bye.